Today's a day where I build a new rack and get it set up for the expansion of the fish room. I'm also going to go into detail about these types of racks that I have set up currently. I've been getting a lot of questions on how these are set up, so I'm going to go into more detail about these. And I think we're also going to cover drilling tanks today because I have a lot of new tanks that still need to be drilled. So let's get started. The rack that I'm adding is the Gladiator brand 60-inch wide version. I got this one at Home Depot. I found that to be the best deal, especially when they shipped it directly to the store. Some other websites were trying to get it only shipped to me and for $70. So it was nice to have Home Depot just ship it to their store and I could just pick it up. The shelves are rated for 2,000 pounds each. I believe that's when they are evenly spread out, the shelves. But even if you don't do that, they can hold a lot of weight, definitely more than what we'll be putting on there. I'm going to be doing all 10 gallons on this rack, which is why this is a different rack versus the ones that I currently have. The racks I have set up right now I really like. These have been set up for a year and a half now with no issues of the shelves holding up the weight. This rack is from Walmart. I'll link the exact one down in the description. But these shelves are rated for 2,000 pounds each as well. These are 3 rows instead of 4 like the new one. But these racks have been holding up really well. I've even leaned on the top. You know, when I'm doing my maintenance, I'm reaching over and I put my whole body weight on the top shelf, which I probably shouldn't be doing, but I've done that before and it held up just fine. I don't have any bowing or anything going on. I also added some wood to the shelves just to help balance the weight out for tanks that didn't reach all the way to the back. And I would recommend doing maybe a pressurized wood or something a little bit thicker than I have here. So going into this, I didn't really know what I was doing, so I picked a random wood and I stained it with waterproof stain. You definitely want to do that if you're adding wood. And I've got a ton of water on these before and the stain has held up really well. But I would go with something like a pressurized wood or something that's a little bit thicker than I have right here. It's about a 1/2 inch thick. I'd go a little bit thicker, but I was battling the amount of space I had to work. So this space gives me enough room that I could work in comfortably. And I also chose these racks because of the depth. They go 24 inches front to back, which a lot of racks don't. This new one is 18 inches deep. And I chose this one because these are 20 gallons that go front to, facing sideways here. So we could take a peek back here and you can see that it just makes it 24 inches that way. And originally I thought I'd be able to fit 240 gallons right across because 77 inches, it just made it with the 240 gallons next to each other. But with these Aquarium tanks, the rim goes slightly over. So that little slight bit made it that 40 gallons didn't fit next to each other. So I ended up doing 20 gallons and a 40. This rack also fits 5 20 gallons right across with a little bit of wiggle room on the side. And it also fits 6 10 gallons and a 5.5 gallon on the end with no wiggle room on the side. And it also fits a 75 gallon, and I put 2 10 gallons on each side of the 75 gallon as I ran out of tank space. And the only time I've had an issue with this rack holding up the weight is when I didn't assemble it properly. So these racks have, the supports on the end obviously, and then also it has this beam supporting down the middle. Now, for whatever reason, when I was assembling this one, the bottom didn't get screwed in, so there's no support in the middle. So you can see a little bit of bowing, and it's kind of coming out a little bit. So this is something I have to take care of, take all these tanks off and put that middle support. But you can see the slight bowing there. But again, that's because I didn't assemble the shelf properly. All the other shelves are holding up just fine. So before I continue and start building that new rack, let me just say that this video is not meant to claim, I'm not making any claims that this is the best rack ever or the best system ever. It's just the way that I have it set up and I really like it and it works for me. and this video is made mostly for the people who have questions about the rack, how it's set up, and I figured I'd just do this in-depth video showing exactly how they're set up if someone is thinking about setting up their own fish room or their own rack. So I'm playing around with the height of the shelves here. Since it'll all be 10 gallons, that's what I'm using to kind of gauge if I have enough space, and I think I got it. You know, I have enough room here for my arm to go all the way back and net out fish. I'm concerned about the top ones though. They're pretty high. I mean, I'm 6 feet tall, but I can feed without getting on a ladder. But I'm concerned like maybe the light will be shining down, or if I'll not pay attention to these tanks as much because I have to do a little, you know, tippy toe, look at what's in there, what's going on. But I have to maximize the space, and I do want four shelves. That'll let me get 20 tanks here. Just wanted to show the rack setup here with the wood on it. You could fit 5 10-gallons across on each row here. But I just wanted to show the wood. Because the rack is 18 inches deep, I had to get a 20-inch piece of wood. So you can see it comes off 2 inches here. I don't need any comments of people yelling at me saying you can't do that. I've done it for a long time. I've seen a bunch of other people do it, and it works for me. I'm just showing what I do, not claiming that this is the best, but this does work for me. So we're outside now. We're gonna drill some tanks. This is probably my least favorite thing to do, but once it's done, the auto water change system makes everything so much easier. And there's an audience watching us today. The chickens that I have, they're very nosy, and if you hear them in the background, that's what that is. They get excited when I'm out here. But the tools I'm using is this power drill here. I found that a plug-in drill works much better than a battery-operated one because you get the same power when you're drilling consistently. And we've got a 10-gallon here. You can tell it's a humid day because it's starting to fog up on the sides. But 10 gallons, they're the hardest to drill just because the glass is thinner. But I'm going to show you the way that I drill them. The bit that I'm using on this drill is a 45 millimeter drill. It's a diamond head drill bit. And this bit works with my 1-inch bulkheads. So I have a video showing the exact pieces I use and how to put together the overflow system. I'll link that right now. But that's the size I use. You could definitely go smaller. I just use the 1-inch bulkhead for every tank in the fish room. So I'm not saying that my way is the best, just showing you how I do it. And I've got this piece of plywood here that I pre-drilled a hole right where I want the hole to be. So it's the same, you know, every time. And we don't have to worry about when you start drilling of it going all over the place. So I'm going to show you how I drill and what I do during the drilling process. And before I start drilling, I put a towel at the bottom where the glass piece that we're cutting out is going to fall, just so that it doesn't chip the front of the tank. I've had it fall on the tanks a couple times and nothing happened, but I'd rather be safe than sorry, so I put the towel there to catch it. And something else that we don't want to forget are safety glasses. Really important that you have these just to be safe. So what I'm doing here is adding water to where the hole is pre-drilled in the wood. That helps keep the blade cool and the glass residue doesn't go everywhere. And I'm just applying a little pressure at the beginning to start the hole and make sure that it doesn't slide everywhere. You can see here where I just started the hole. Once I have it started, I take this piece away. And you can see that we have all the residue there. So what I do is I tilt it like this, and then I just take some water, and I want to get all of that out. Now, I don't know if this is a necessary step, but it's something I do so that the blade isn't, you know, spinning with the glass pieces in there. And then now I could do this freehand because I already have the groove set in there. So when you're drilling a 10-gallon tank, I want to make sure that there's not a lot of pressure on the glass because it's a lot thinner than other tanks. what I'm doing is just letting the weight of the drill be the pressure on the tank. And you want to make sure that you have the drill placed evenly on the glass and one side's not drilling deeper than another. With deeper tanks, I do put a little bit of pressure, but not too much. We can see we got our hole here. So I usually wash all this, but we got the piece here. Now it's hard to get a perfect circle with a 10-gallon. The 20 gallons and the 40 gallons, I usually get almost a perfect circle. But with the 10s, it's so hard because they're so thin. But what I do now is just rinse this tank out and make sure that I don't have any of the glass residue there, anything dirty from in the tank. And after drilling for a while, you get the residue on the bit here. I don't have it on here right now, but if I did, what I normally do between every couple drillings is just spin it in the water there. You want to cool the bit down, and also, again, just getting that glass residue off the bit. And the last thing I want to mention about these drill bits is every couple tanks, depending on the thickness of the tanks, I've done, 10 tanks so far of the 10 gallons, and now I'm going to go ahead and switch my bit. If I was doing 20 gallons or 40 gallons, every couple tanks I would switch the bit, just because the bit does dull after a while. I might be doing it more often than you should, but I'd rather, again, be safe than sorry. A new blade cuts really well. You get the nice circles. If your blade starts getting dull, you can accidentally crack a tank. So we definitely don't want that. So that's what I recommend. And if you're nervous about doing this, I was at first, and now I can do it, without any issues. You're probably going to crack a tank, so I would prepare for that mentally. So far, I think I did crack one because I was pressing too hard, but that's all right. They're 10 gallons, to be expected. I just wanted to show here that you can get a near perfect hole on a 10-gallon. As I do these more and more in a row, I think I'm at tank number 15 right now. They get better and better, and it's pretty good. There's no pieces blocking the way. The other piece that had it slightly sticking out over here, I could still put the bulkhead in, so it's not a problem. So that was an in-depth look on how my racks are set up and how I drill tanks. If I missed anything or you guys have any questions, just ask in the comments and I'll do my best to answer everybody. Subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you in the next one.